I guess we'll just introduce ourselves first, Earl.
Well, my name's Earl, obviously.
Earl the Pearl.
Yes, I am a baseball fan. I've never played professionally or any high school level, but I used to play with friends all the time. I have a passion for baseball. Love talking baseball, so that's kind of why we're here, I guess, to talk about baseball.
And you're in a punk band, right?
No, not
or
no.
once in a punk
band.
Yes,
So I played a couple bands. Yes.
So this is the inaugural test episode.
See.
I'll put it up on flipping online. I don't even care.
Yeah,
but
this is just us trying to figure out how to work equipment because we're both new to recording. I mean, obviously we know how to record on our phones, but this is equipment that we're learning as we go. So this isn't an actual podcast episode. It's just a recorded sample. Well, not sample, but what would you say? Demo.
It's a demo. Who knows what we'll take from it?
Yeah.
We have been effing with a Zoom L8 soundboard for 45 minutes or something?
It's been about an hour, yeah.
So yeah, it's like all sound troubleshooting, but inaugural test episode of 3BGB, the podcast that covers baseball and punk music, or whatever the F we want to talk about.
There will definitely be other things we talk about because I love to talk. I'm sure I'll come in one day, hey, Ernie, you will not believe what I saw.
I know, because other topics I think I talk about is just weird shit like UFOs or remote viewing. Are you familiar with remote viewing?
Is that where you go out and watch UFOs?
No, it's like, you ever see the movie with George Clooney, Men Who Stare at Goats?
No.
You should check that out. It's a good one. But anyway, just weird shit, whatever we want to talk about. But I'm Ernie Big Ern, and I met Earl in digital sound class at Northwest Vista College, community college, where you can fucking dominate life. And I knew Earl was a baseball fan because he showed up wearing a Spose hat one time and a Brooklyn Dodgers hat the other time, and I was like, "This is the motherfucker I've been looking for."
Well, I think also you started noticing I wore different hats every single day.
Yeah.
So you were like, "Do you like baseball?" I'm like, "Absolutely."
And then when you go to your profile, you got like a missions jersey
and
shit.
Yeah, it was for a school project. I basically had to take a picture of myself, and then take that picture and put it into another setting. So I chose to do baseball because that's what I like, and I knew it would work great.
Yeah, so that was, I was like, somehow we were meant to run into each other, and then we're like, all right, well, let's do a podcast. We don't know what the F we're doing, but we love talking baseball, and I could talk about punk music. I would preface this by saying we're neither an expert in any of these things. Or
Definitely
you might be
not.
in punk music. I'm not an expert in punk music.
I know a lot about punk, but am I an expert? No.
Yeah, I know a little about punk. I'm a big Minor Threat fan. A lot about baseball. I like to nerd out on baseball, but what do we know? And the topics we selected are MLB lockout, which is a hot topic.
That's
what
the
we
most
think about
recent
that. And then I had some stuff like on the spitball back in the old days.
Okay.
And then they actually I'll get into it later if we end up talking about the spitball. But anyway, we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do like punk album reviews. And I had Mark Sultan, who I only know. So this is the follow the rabbit hole on this one. So Mark Sultan I know about because of the Space Shits and the Les Sexarinos, and I know only about those two because the Space Shits had a dude in that band that was in the movie Fubar.
The Space Shits?
The Space Shits.
Fubar's a great movie. So
yeah, Fubar's a great movie, and the dude that was in that was in the Space Shits band, and I just followed that after I watched the movie.
What's funny is Canada actually had, well, I don't know if they still do, but they, in the 90s and before, they had amazing punk bands.
Right?
Especially for me, because I like pop punk and skate punk, and they were just coming like out of everywhere from Canada.
And I think this dude's from Montreal, which I don't really know what the connection is, but Montreal Expos being the most epic fucking unis ever, and then you got a bunch of punk coming out of Canada. There's a lot of things to love about Canada.
Yes, I'm a avid Canadian fan, and I've never even been there.
My sister lives in Edmonton.
Well, there you go. There's a connection. We can make
go
it.
Up there.
They
don't have the. They used to have AAA. I think they were like AAA for the flipping Mariners, the Edmonton Prospectors. I've been to the stadium when I visit her, but now it's like college baseball in the summer. But anyway, Canadian baseball. Edmonton Oilers. I can go off on a tangent about a little bit about hockey too, but anyway, if we want to start spitballing CBA lockout, MLB lockout, I'll let you fire off, and then I'll bounce back at you, Earl. What are your thoughts as the fan and your understanding as the casual fan as what in the heck is going on?
Well, basically, there's a work stoppage because the players union and the owners cannot come to an agreement on far as like what they pay, and all that stuff. It's a work stoppage. So yeah, there's disagreements between the players and the owners because they don't want to pay more money to the players, but then the players are like, well, we're earning you all this money, so why can't we have a little bit more? But on the same side, though, I feel like baseball players already get paid enough. Especially with, like, when they hand out those 10 years, $100 million contracts. Like, that's just ridiculous. I mean, do you think that's too long of a contract? 10 years?
I like the crazy big contracts. I kind of I liked because we were talking about, like, Pujols' contract for the Angels.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
It just seems like a terrible idea because you just get punished on the back end. You're like, oh, man, this guy's awesome. It's like, dude, he's not going to be that awesome for 10 years.
But the thing was when the Angels signed that 10-year contract, he'd already been playing for, like, 10 years, so you knew he wasn't going to be great for those 10 years.
Yeah, you had to guess that
he had some wear and tear on him for sure.
His golden years were going to already happened.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't going to get 10 more years of that.
I also think the Angels were relying on his name to bring in the money too.
Right.
Like they're like, well, he may not be amazing for all 10 years, but with the revenue from this guy's jersey sales and people coming to games, it will make up the funds.
So, and that's like, and if I knew more about it, but it's kind of interesting. And I think this, so I'm going to back up and go back to like my research on the lockout and what they may be arguing about. So they're arguing about money, which makes sense. It's a business. I get it. I'm not like anti, like the owners got to do their thing, the players got to do their thing, but like the money issues as I have read are like arbitration, which means like if you gotta like basically a player minimum salary that you're stuck with for like the first so many years of your like major league career. Like you're a
so you're talking about from the player's point of view.
Yeah,
correct?
from like you're Tim Lincecum, you're winning a Cy Young, you're only getting $575,000 where the league minimum is until you can get to arbitration.
But see, that's another reason why the players want to hire minimum wage because they don't know what'll happen, and like I want to cover my ass just in case something does happen.
Yeah, so they want to up the minimum salary. They want to be able to get to arbitration sooner. So if you're like a superstar like Soto or something with the Nationals, you can jack up that contract sooner. That's one money issue. The other is like free agency, like if you're locked into these minimum salaries for like 6 years, or can you get to free agency in 5 years? That's another money issue because the sooner you get to free agency, the sooner you're balling out. Then you got the revenue sharing, which my understanding is the players union thinks revenue sharing incentivizes tanking and losing.
Well, yeah, because if the good teams who are bringing in the money and who are successful has to share their money, then why do we need to win?
Yeah, why would you bust the salary tax if you're Oakland and you're going to get like $15 million and you're under payroll?
Yeah.
So
if you could just like tank for a couple of years and just save up that money that you're getting from these other teams.
Yeah, why pay your third baseman $20 million a year when you can pay him $6 million and then get money? So I think from the player's point of view, the way that's structured, it from the like the union's like, it's hooked up, so we're just gonna get paid less. Like you're set up to pay us less. The other one is the if I got it right, the competitive balance tax. The competitive balance tax. I'm not gonna get into like the nitty gritty of the limits, but it's like a soft like salary cap or the luxury tax, as they say, right? So like your payroll, I think for this year is like 2021 was like $210 million. If you go over $210 million, then you start hitting like these tiers of punishment, right? So you're like, I think first time you're over, you have to pay like a 20% like tax or whatever on the amount you're over, yada, yada. And then it like goes up the more you're over. And so if you're a team that busts it like the Yankees or something like that, you gotta pay more money. So if you're a player in the union, you're like, raise that up, dude, because then we can all sign bigger contracts.
How about the
right?
minimum salary, right? Bring that up.
like the salary tax. So if you're like,
I think it's only under $600,000, which is for a professional player minimum salary. That's kind of low.
Well, I mean, it's for like the big once you hit free agency, if your payroll let's say your payroll has to be under 210 million, like the whole
Yeah.
team, and you won't get hit with that tax. So I think what it is when they go to the negotiating table, you know, the management's like talking to the agent going, oh man, we can't do that deal because, you know, we already busted salary tax limit. And so I feel like the contract deals that they're getting are getting tamped down because they have this argument like, oh, we're going to get taxed that much more. I don't know, but if you're a player, you're like, you don't complain about that if you raise that from 210 to like 265, 275, give us all huge contracts. You're not going to get punished for it. So the lower that number is, the worse for the players, the better for the owners. The higher you can get the competitive balancing tax up, that's better for the players. So that's like a big piece that they're arguing about. Like that, the revenue, arbitration, and then like free agency years.
Plus, what is it, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, or whatever his name is? He's kind of a dick. He's
well,
not budging.
he just stepped down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's gone.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, when he was there, that's why this kind of came to this.
I have to say, like, this is like an NFL thing, too. So, like, Manfred was, I think, the MLB owner's lawyer for, like, the last lockout or 2 lockouts before that.
The last lockout, I think, was, like, in 94.
Never played baseball. And, I mean, I don't know the guy, but he never played baseball. And
So
he's
he
looking at this
know.
from a legal point. And it's like the same thing with Goodell. Everybody hates Roger Goodell in the NFL. I think he's a flipping lawyer who worked in the front office of the NFL and worked his way up. And that's fine and all, but as a crazy baseball nut fan, don't you want to have somebody in there that's like, it's like,
See, that's
I
the problem
love the game.
because these commissioners come in with the mindset of a lawyer, so they don't understand
It's
certain
just dollars.
aspects.
It's just a business. And
Yeah.
it is a business, but
You can't have a business without players. So, like, if your players don't want to play, you're not gonna have a season, and the owner's not gonna make any money, and so everybody gets hurt, obviously. So.
And I don't, I guess one thing that I'd probably look up if I was researching this better is like, so like how much does a Major League Baseball team make? Like I understand like the revenue sharing part of it, because if you don't have revenue sharing or some form of shifting the money around, then how do small market teams like the Royals compete with the Bostons and the Yankees? Like you just can't. Like if there's no cap, right? You're just like, I'll give them, $300 million contract. Well, then you're going to get all the stars. I mean, you got to have basically a better farm system. So it does tilt the playing field if there isn't any sort of checks and balances. But then it's getting abused by the teams who are like, we don't want to win. We'd rather just have the revenue, and we're not going to field a competitive team. So if there was no salary cap, you wouldn't field a competitive team. You'd be blown out by the Yankees anyway. You wouldn't field a competitive team. So I don't know what the happy balance is, but
I don't feel like there's any MLB teams that really tank on purpose. I don't see that from my point of view. I'm sure it happens, but I don't see it.
yeah, I don't know. And the other one, as far as like, it's not so much tanking, but it's the service time manipulation.
Yeah.
The best example I can think of is like Chris Bryant. They kept him in the minors, and you knew he was like, this should be an opening day starter. He's like your best prospect.
How about
and then,
the Chris Bryant from the Cubs?
yeah, with the
Okay,
Cubs.
okay.
And they just kept him in the minors so they could extend his free agency like out an extra year and then use him without losing that year of MLB service time. So, I mean, it's weird that a team would actually do that. Like, I'm going to have a dude that will help me win games not on my roster because I want to bang him out of money. That's
That's where the business aspect comes in for the owners.
pretty anti-competitive. And I'm not saying like Billy Ball, Moneyball, and like Oakland always tries to be competitive on a low budget, but growing up in like Seattle, I don't know what the heck the Mariners were doing watching that team. I honestly believe you tell me that front office was trying to lose games and get money. Maybe they were, because it was just there's some horrible teams in there. I mean, there's some good teams, but I don't know how. It's pain. But anyway.
Dude, the Mariners, I don't think they haven't made the playoffs in like 20 years or something. It's been a long
I
time.
don't know. The last one I remember, yeah, in full disclosure, I'm kind of like, I love the Mariners, but being in San Antonio, I kind of root Rangers too, and I realize they're in the same division. That's blasphemy, but is what it is. You just gotta watch baseball and enjoy the sport. But they won 120 games or something in the regular season, like the highest ever.
Yeah.
And then they were out in the first round. And I think it was like 2000. Was that 2001 or something, like 2003? Brett Boone was all on like roids. Yeah.
Brett Boone from the Yankees? Am I thinking of the right player, or am I thinking of another Boone?
Aaron Boone is the
Aaron Boone.
Aaron Boone is brother.
There we go.
Both
Okay,
boys.
I
Both
got confused because there's so many Boones.
Yeah, both boys of Bob Boone, the great Bob Boone, catcher for the Royals. But yeah, Brett Boone was juiced. I haven't read Jose Canseco's book, Juiced, but Brett Boone's numbers were pretty insane.
Speaking of being juiced, I guess this will be a transition because I've been thinking about this on the whole ride over here. Because recently they had a Hall of Fame voting for MLB, and Barry Bonds still didn't get in.
Oh, right.
So here's the conversation I have. Do you believe that people on steroids who were clearly jacked up should get in the Hall of Fame versus somebody who, like Pete Rose, who did nothing really except bet on his own team but still isn't in? Because I believe Pete Rose is a Hall of Famer. He has the numbers and the hits and everything to prove otherwise. I understand he gambled on his own team, but it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's maybe like a deeper conversation for me on like what is the Hall of Fame, if it's like a tourist trap, and then it's kind of like basically the sports writers. I mean, the sports writers are, I think, essentially in control of who gets in. And you get dudes like Ken Griffey Jr. who are like not unanimous or something. Like, I don't know. You'll get these amazing like Willie Mays or something. Like there's like 4 sports writers or something who don't. Like they don't think that dude's a Hall of Famer. You're like, what? There's some clown aspects to who gets in and who doesn't into the Hall of Fame. I know there's a lot of like uproar about Harold Baines, solid, serviceable player. Was he Hall of Fame? I don't know. The Players Committee thought he was a Hall of Famer, but when you start like the Shoeless Joes of the world. Maybe, he hit pretty good in the 1919 World Series. He's not in, and they start trying to punish these gamblers and make examples out of people. I mean, I agree. Pete Rose is a Hall of Famer, but it's like they're like, if we think you cheated, and the problem with that is because then you're like judge and jury, right?
Yeah.
So like, there's dudes who cheated who are probably in the Hall of Fame, and Barry Bonds isn't.
Because I'd rather put somebody in who cheated, like on their team, like not performance-wise. I'd put them in over someone who changed their performance, like Barry Bonds.
Yeah. I mean,
I know it's like the same thing sort of because they're both cheating in a way, but I can understand putting somebody in who cheated with money gambling versus their performance.
Yeah, I mean,
does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess that's a tough one because I'm a Barry Bonds fan, and he probably was a Hall of Famer. I mean, not in this. I saw something today that was said because David Ortiz, a lot of rumors around whether there was substance abuse, and I don't know if he failed the test, so I don't want to throw the dude under the bus. But essentially, it was like, if there's 2 dudes, equivalent careers, both used performance-enhancing supplements or drugs. One guy was real standoffish, jerk with the press, like Barry Bonds. Another dude was always joking around the press. One guy's a Hall of Famer according to the writers, and one guy's not. So it's a little bit of a popularity contest. I mean, you look at the guys who are getting ostracized, like the Clemens and the Bonds. They weren't popular dudes with the press. They were kind of pricks, I think.
Well, yeah. Especially Barry Bonds. I even think when he went into coaching, he was still aggressive because he was like a batting coach, I think, for the Marlins.
Yeah, I saw that. And
he definitely still had an attitude.
Yeah, I mean,
he was a literal big head. So
it was. I mean, his numbers are crazy, but then
that's why.
But then, where's Major League Baseball part when you weren't testing for it? Because those, like, I don't know what percentage of the league, but those dudes weren't the only dudes juicing. So what, like, how good? If there's like, let's say there's 10% of the league, or like there's all the dudes juicing, and Barry Bonds is still that much better than, I mean, it's a bad argument, but let's say everybody was juicing. He was still, because I don't know who was juicing, but he's still insane. Like he was that good. I don't know.
It's hard to like say for certain they should be in the Hall of Fame or not?
Well, I'm fine with him not being in the Hall of Fame.
Me too.
If I was a writer, I don't know if I'd vote for him, but then I'm like, the Hall of Fame's kept out some dudes that should probably be in there. And then if you want to make an example out of guys, because that's what they're doing with Pete Rose and the Shoeless Joe Jacksons and the Barry Bonds, we're like, we'll show you, your numbers are there, but we're just not letting you in. But it's essentially a tourist trap in upstate New York. I think it's a for-profit business. Like, they're selling tickets. And I don't know if you've heard this, Earl, but like some dudes will be like, I'm not giving my home run bat, whatever, in the World Series to the Hall of Fame anymore because they won't give it back. They said they would. I want my bat back, or I want my cleats back.
To some people, like professionals, they're saying the Hall of Fame is becoming a joke.
Yeah.
Because it's a bunch of writers voting on people who's never played. It's basically like an eye test at this point. But a lot of them look at numbers. They don't actually look at the player as a whole. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, yeah. So, I mean, that's like one question is like, what is the Hall of Fame? How important is it? Or is it essentially baseball's Disneyland? And, yeah, they want to act like it's all cool with the real thing, like the writers you got in, you didn't. But it's, objective to these writers, and you got dudes like, Willie Mays, not unanimous. That's insane.
Which makes no sense.
So it's
definitely there definitely is a small portion of popularity.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm fine with those. Like, some people are like, well, Rose should be in there. It's like, yeah, Rose should be in there, but I don't think for the baseball fans who are like, that dude still got the most hits, like Barry Bonds. I still think Henry Aaron holds a home run record.
That's
because
my opinion. Barry Bonds is not the home run king.
Yeah, he's the home run king.
Sure.
But is Bonds in the lore of baseball, maybe? Like, in the history of baseball, is that guy like one of the better dudes that should probably be a Hall of Famer? If you ask the players will probably say like, well, yeah, he juiced, but I was juicing. I didn't hit, I was juicing. I only hit 30 homers.
I still think though that Barry Bonds will get in before Pete Rose, just based off of popularity.
Yeah.
Because they're going to eventually be like, let's just put him in,
Yeah.
He'll draw an attraction.
Bonds is a tough one.
Which was weird because, like, when I was younger, watching Barry Bonds was, like, awesome. I was like, this dude can hit some home runs. But as I got older and I started understanding what was going on, I was like, okay, maybe not.
Yeah, it's him and McGuire and Sosa. Like, once the numbers got so silly, because there's a sacred aspect to the game.
77 home runs is insane. At that point, it becomes an arcade game rather than an actual game of baseball.
Yeah, and it's just, and you're so strong. And the bat that you're wielding is so heavy, like ounces. Like, they could get bat speed with things that were just like a couple ounces heavier than what mortal men could do. Even if you don't get all the ball, it's going out of the ballpark. So it's just like, that's like, you're just so strong, you can handle a bigger bat. So it's, I don't know.
People will argue, well, they still have to hit the ball. Yeah, but if they've been playing their whole life, they already know how to do that. So once they're jacked, they hit it, it's going really far.
Yeah, it's like the same, like the unjuiced player who gets it like slightly off the trademark or something, exact same swing as Mark McGuire, it's a fly ball to right field, and it's caught. But McGuire is so huge, his bat's so big, and his bat speed's so great. Exact same, like, bad level of hitting would have been an out, goes an extra 100 feet. So it's just like,
because you put, like you say, you compared, like, because of the steroids, if you put Craig Counsell up there and have that dude try to hit the same way, it's not going in that home run.
Yeah.
So like, that's my point. Like, well, yeah, you've been playing your whole life, so you already know how to hit. You understand the art of hitting. So once you have that, like, added power, dude, anything you hit is gonna fucking go far.
Yeah.
So don't give me this, I still have to know how to hit it. No.
I'm looking at Boone's numbers here. So it was like 2001 was the noticeable jump. Just like, because I didn't realize Boone came from the Padres. Brett Boone played with the Padres in 2000. We get him. Mariners get him in 2001, and he hit 251 the previous season with 19 homers, which is still pretty good for a middle infielder, and 74 RBIs. So he actually had some pop. But then you go, then you hit 331 with 141 RBIs and 37 homers. That's a pretty big jump. Like another 19 doubles on top of that. The biggest one, the craziest one, where there had to be steroid use, is Brady Anderson, because he went from 8 homers to 50.
That's obvious because no one improves that quickly over one season.
Yeah, Brady Anderson. If I can look at Baseball Reference real quick, there's quite a noticeable.
Which I never understood about Barry Bonds doing steroids because he was a stud before when he was with the Pirates.
Yeah, he would have been a Hall of Famer. Didn't
so he was. I don't understand why he wanted to take steroids and become that much better when he was already great. Maybe he was like, you know what? I saw what Sammy Sosa and what's his face McGuire was doing. I want that.
Yeah.
I want to be a superstar. And what's funny is the Giants never won a title with Barry Bonds.
Yeah, that was after he was gone. They went off in the 2000s. The other one, so Brady Anderson hit 16 home runs in 1995, and then in 1996 he hit 50. And then in 1997, he went back to 18. So a 50 home run season was bracketed by a 16 home run season and 18 home run season. So that's.
See, that was Barry Bonds. I'm looking up numbers.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an expert. So where's it at right here? So in 2000 with the Giants, he hit 49 home runs, and then the following year in 2001 is when he went way up to 73, and after that it was 46, 45, 45. This dude was just. But even with the Pirates, he still was hitting almost 20-plus home runs every season, so I don't understand.
Another one, and I don't think there's ever been talk about it, but I always thought Luis Gonzalez's 50.
The Arizona player?
Yeah.
Okay.
A 57 home run season is kind of insane.
For him, definitely.
And, at the age of, what was this, when he was with Houston, he was a 15 homer season dude. And it's not like he hadn't physically developed. He was a 28-year-old man still hitting 15 homers, 10 homers, full season, 10 homers. Then he goes to Detroit, which is I don't know I think that's pre the new stadium. So that's Tiger Stadium. He hits 23 homers, makes sense. Then he goes to Arizona and just starts going off. But, yeah, I don't know. The funniest one is Ken Caminiti. You know about him? Third baseman for the Houston Astros, where they're he came out, I used steroids. Yeah. And they're like, do you think that was a bad idea? He's like, no, it was the best idea I ever friggin' had because it's a free agency year. I went off, and they got a huge contract. So I'm doing roids that made millions.
I don't understand why people deny it. People know. Whenever Rafael Palmeiro, if you remember, when they asked him, he's like, I did not take steroids. Super upset.
Yeah, I guess they didn't want the smear on him, but.
But I don't remember the guy's name, but what. Was it a player or a doctor? I think it was. It was the guy, the most notorious one, Jose Canseco. He's the one that leaked all the players and stuff.
Yeah.
That was on the steroids list, and so a lot of people got in trouble for that. I remember that, dude. When that came out, he's like, "Yeah, look at all these players that's been cheating, taking steroids. I have." Because it was he went to a doctor, right, and got all the players.
Yeah, Balco, was it?
Yeah,
Bay
Balco,
Area Lab Cooperative.
That's when a lot of shit hit the fan, and a lot of players were on that list. I think A-Rod was on there too.
Yeah, A-Rod or something.
But A-Rod to me wasn't a huge steroid user because it wasn't he went off. He was still good, but he wasn't super better than he was before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, It's Major League Baseball wasn't. I heard a really interesting interview the other day on Griffey, because Griffey was height of the steroid era. No, it was Shannon Sharp. So Shannon Sharp's talking to Griffey. He's like, "Why don't you use?" There's never any talk you never use. He's like, "I don't like needles."
King Griffey Jr. said that.
Yeah, he's like, "I don't like needles." There's nobody suspects him. He had the sweetest swing. He was injured there with his. For years, and his numbers were what they were. It's one of the greatest players of all time. But he goes, dude, you got to think about it like this, though. He's like, I don't really judge the other dudes that did it because, if you're a fringe guy trying to make it in Major League Baseball, right? You got a family, you got a couple kids at home, you're back and forth between the big team and AAA. You got a mortgage, you're trying to get by, and somebody goes, hey, dude, take this pill or take this shot. And you can stay in the majors and make $5 million a year and you're telling me that if you were confronted with that decision, you wouldn't make it. So he's like, yeah, dudes did it. I mean, we didn't like, nobody's doing it in the locker room. You didn't know who was doing it. But, you know, it's like you try to judge the guys. It's a lot easy to play, you know, pretty easy to play Monday morning quarterback, you know, if you weren't in that situation. Now, dudes like Bonds, that doesn't make any sense because you were awesome, bro. You know, like you
That's
did
what
not.
I'm saying.
You didn't have to do it.
And
but
he was still, even with the Pirates, he was still hitting 20-plus home runs every year. So there was no reason for him to take steroids and heighten his game that much more.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
In Major League Baseball, wasn't tested for it. It was kind of like an open joke. The like basically 2 months where I was paid to play baseball for the Lubbock Crickets, which was not affiliated. Jason Landreth was on that team, and he was good. He got drafted. He got signed by the Pirates after that year. I think he hit like I don't know how many homers, but he also played JUCO ball in California. I played against him when I was playing JUCO out there. And I remember we were just like playing around on the dugout, and he knew, you know, he was getting scouted, and he's probably going to sign. He was talking to people, and they're like, dude, you ain't ever going to make it to the show. He's like, what are you talking about, man? I'm like 3 cycles away from the show. And then everybody's laughing. It's like, you know, it's true. It's like you just had to juice and bulk up and start jacking homers, and you'd move up to the show. So, like, for dudes that, you know, the Ken Caminets or whatever, the people that did and didn't. But I guess with, like, Balco and Bonds, like the juice was so good. Like, dude was huge.
Yeah, like, dude, I mean, this is funny, but like, look at that dude's head. It grew massive. and don't give me that shit, oh, I've been training. In a year, your head grew?
Your head grew?
In what world does exercising make your head
Your
grow?
head-
You can get bigger arms,
size.
bigger legs, but your head, bullshit. Like,
Hat size. I'm going to look at Bond's hat size.
it probably was a 9 or something.
Yeah.
He was like he probably had to have a custom-made hat.
Yeah, I mean, there's a tell there. And I don't think even he's saying, like, he doesn't really talk. I don't know, like, he was, like, out and out, like, denied, like, I didn't, you know. But yeah, I mean, if it was Bond's hat size increased from a 7 1/4 73/8 over the time he played the San Francisco Giants. The equipment manager for the ball club told a federal jury today. Okay, so like, if your head's growing, I don't know.
Because I wear a 7 5/8 or 7 3/4,
Yeah.
and that's like an average size, and he clearly has a bigger head than me, so he must have been at least like an 8 plus, man.
Yeah.
Because the biggest they go is 8, and like an 8, it's really big on me, but it's not super big.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I could imagine this dude had to have like a globe as a fucking helmet.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I'm wishy-washy on it. I mean, it was what it was. It was the quote-unquote steroid era, and all those dudes are going to get punished in the sense that they probably already made their millions, but they're not going to get in the Hall of Fame.
Which, I don't know why that's such a big deal. Like, you know you're not going to get it, just let it go.
Yeah.
Like, what are you after by getting a Hall of Fame?
I don't even think Bonds cares. He's like this is what I did. I had my career. I did Balco, whatever. I jacked all those homers, and everybody saw it. You know, it's in the books with an asterisk or whatever, the psychological asterisk everybody wants to have. But
I think it's a respect thing. He's like, well, I'm in the Hall of Fame, so I'm a respectable player.
yeah,
I think that's part of it.
And the other crazy thing about Bonds is, so like, I would tune in, like, if I knew a Giants game was on and they would try to probably give it prime time because it was, you're like, dude, you get to see Bonds. I mean, I would tune in.
Because those early 2000s, those teams were great because of Barry Bonds. They had players, too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember some of the players. Like,
I mean, I just wanted to see the Bonds at bat. Like, I was like, I'm here to watch this dude to see if he jacks one. And I remember, like, there's on YouTube, there's a pretty good video of an Eric Gagne who was also on juice, who got busted.
Well, his career lasted, like, his dominance only lasted, like, what, 2 years?
Like 2 or 3 years.
And after that, it was he tried to come back and he couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he threw his arm out because he was so yoked and juiced, but, I mean, he was
Jeff
you
Kent.
know.
That was one of the players I was trying to think of.
Yeah, Kent was good.
Jeff Kent, yeah.
Kent was a really good player.
Because I remember they had Bonds, obviously, which was a stud, but then I was like, they also have a lot of good role players, and I was trying to remember, and Jeff Kent was one of them.
Yeah, Jeff Kent was good, but the Gagne Bonds at bat was like, I mean, it was like high drama. It was like two gladiators. You're watching these dudes like 95 plus versus like the best bat in baseball. Technically, both dudes were probably juiced up at that time. And it was a crazy at bat, man. It was just power on power. And of course, Bonds eventually jacked a homer. But I was like, as pretty compelling television, at least for baseball.
Of course, that's why they did. That's why I don't think why no one cared, because MLB was drawing ratings in.
Yeah, they
like
looked
crazy.
the other way. They're like,
and now that the steroid era is over and there's more testing, now people are going away from baseball because they said it's too boring.
yeah. Well, they're gonna. That's the other offer on the table, right? So they're gonna take away the National League DH, which I'm very against because.
Yeah, I am a DH guy.
Yeah.
I just feel like, don't get me wrong, there are pitchers that can hit, but you have a better chance of having a player who is his specialty is hitting.
Yeah, my argument against the DH is you kind of have the best of both worlds in that you do still have the DH in the American League. So people that like that game, they have the DH game, and then for people like me that like want to see the pitcher hit, I have that game too. So it's like you kind of have a perfect compromise between the people who want it and the people who don't when you have two leagues. And then you get the weird stuff at the All-Star game and the World Series where you see dudes who normally like pitchers who don't hit, you know. And the other thing, like there, I was reading an old article on Connie Mack, old manager, when they were talking about, because they talked about the DH for a long time before the institute. He's like, no, he's like, we shouldn't do that because the teams that have pitchers that can actually make contact and hit, that's an advantage for that team, and they should be rewarded for that advantage. That those, like, the solution isn't taking the pitchers at bat away. The solution should be making them be better baseball players and make them hit more. But I realize pitchers are going to suck at hitting, but then you get into all kinds of pinch hit situations, small ball bunting, and who knows what. So I don't know.
Because what's crazy is, like, if you're, I can understand the point of view also from having a pitcher as a hitter. Because in high school and stuff, and even before high school, pitchers played both ways a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like, they can hit great. So I can understand why that argument is there too. Like,
and I don't really understand, like, why. I mean, like, I get Lincecum was kind of like a freak pitcher, but that dude would take some hacks up there.
Yeah.
But like a lot of these dudes, Tim Hudson's one, because I played against Tim Hudson in college, and he was like the center fielder for Auburn. Like, that dude could hit. He could play everything. He was just an athlete. So I don't understand, like, a lot of these pitchers, like major league pitchers, were like top tier athletes, whatever high school they went to. They were probably like 400 hitters hitting like 10 homers. And I don't know where the competitive juices go, where you just won't go up there and be like, take a little BP and be like, yeah, on top of the fact that you're a pitcher, so you're kind of in the chess match in your brain, like, what's he going to try to throw me now, and get your bat speed up. And it's inexplicable at some level how horrible some of them are. I was like, dude, you're probably the best athlete in your school, and now you hit like 0.53 for the season.
If what causes that is when they go to college, they specifically just pitch, so maybe they lose some of their hitting. That's
true. They specialize in college.
So like they're hitting while they still know how to hit. Their skill goes down because that's all they're doing is pitching, right? So they kind of lose some of the mental part of it.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's
there. The specialization takes
That's what I believe. What happens? You know?
Yeah.
It's just like field goal kicking. It's like once you forget how to do it, you can never get it back. So maybe that's what happens with pitchers.
I don't know. It's just one of the. But then it was kind of fun when every once in a while you like get a pitcher that could hit, because Oral Hershiser was a pretty good hitter. I think he was like 3 for 3 in a World Series game. Basically won the game for himself. Zambrano for the Cubs, he could jack homers.
Zambrano.
Yeah, Carlos Zambrano was like, I don't know what his major league home run total was, but it might have been like 20. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm both. I'm pro DH. Like American League, that's awesome. You know, Mariners, Alvin Davis, get these dudes in there that can jack some homers. But then you get a lot of quirks when you don't have the option and you have to make managerial decisions on, do you want to pinch hit for this guy in the 5th inning of a close game? So it's just, I like the wrinkle. I like the quirkiness and the wrinkle of having two leagues doing two different things.
I think it's cool, yeah. because it brings two different aspects of the game.
And I'm like, I mean, I get emotional about it, and I was like, they're gonna do it, and I'm never gonna be able to see like that kind of like managerial tacticians again.
That's my problem with people. They don't understand baseball, so they want to change it. And baseball is a thinking man's game. It's amazing the way it is. Leave it alone. Like, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Yeah,
I mean, it like a double play, a relay, a close play. They don't all have to be like 10 to 11 games with like 3-run homers. So it's. I think we're losing something unique if we go all DH, but that's just me. I did find in my research though, Earl, that there has like internationally, where can I find a league where they still let the pitchers hit? And I think in the Nippon Professional Baseball League in Japan, basically the MLB for Japan, they have two leagues, and they have it like the ALNL, where the Pacific League has the DH and the Central League still has the pitchers hitting.
Did you find, because like I've never really looked that up, but did you find out why they want to make it just two designated hitters as opposed to one league pitcher hitting?
I'm not sure why. I'm probably purists like me are against it for the reasons I laid out, but from like the players union, it kind of makes sense, right? Because then you get 15 more careers extended.
Plus, it's also an extra position.
It's like an extra position,
yeah.
So you're just going to get more money, bigger contracts, more jobs for your union, essentially. So I think the players are for it, and then the MLB owners, if they're trying to put butts in seats and get people to the ballpark, they probably want dingers too. They're like, the people like me is like, well, I want to see, the sacrifice bunt, and they're like, I don't care, dude. We want bombs. So I think it's gonna happen. Everything I've seen says it's basically a foregone conclusion. It's gonna happen, which is a little bit sad for me. I'll probably have to start watching Central League Baseball in Japan, but now we got to transition to your punk chops, Earl. I want to hear all about the gigs, because it's a bass guitar. Guitar guy. You did vocals.
Yeah, I play bass. I've dabbled. I would say dabbled in guitar. Like, I know how to do basic power chords, but I suck ass at like proper hand, like, I guess, positioning.
Okay.
So it sounds like shit when I play power chords.
And you play right-handed, right? That's like all guitars.
I'm a right-handed.
Are righty.
Yeah, I can play bass fine. I understand the bass, but guitar, it's really difficult.
And then what about throwing a baseball when you go out and start taking some hacks? Lefty, righty, ambidextrous?
I bat right, I throw right.
Okay. So the punk, what were the name of the punk bands that you were in?
Dude, I don't remember. They were like early 2000s, and I was only in like two of them.
Okay.
Let's rewind back to those days. I remember them now. I just thinking. Okay, so the first one I was in was called a band called Hazelwood.
Hazelwood.
Yes, I was in there for a short while because we couldn't agree. Well, so it was me, my brother, and our friend, correct? And they wanted to play something different that I didn't want to play. And so when I suggested, hey, why don't we try a different style, they didn't like that. So that didn't work. So then I started a band with my other friend later on after I got kicked out of that band. And I like punk, he liked classic rock. So we tried to blend the two, and that didn't work. Like we practice together, but like for me, it's very hard for me to like be, what's the word I'm looking for? Into it if it's not what I like. Like I'm not gonna go play some Kiss fucking cover band or something. And then so this other friend that I had in Dallas, where I'm from, we played together. We both like punk music, but I moved, so that didn't work out. But I've been trying to start a punk band.
I'm just gonna have to learn how to play guitar.
Forever. Dude, honestly, all you need is 3 fingers and power chords.
I'll just get lessons. Get a left-handed guitar and take lessons.
I've done vocals, but they're very bad because I sing from my throat.
That's good for punk, though.
I sing from my throat, and it sounds raw, and it sounds terrible.
Have you ever seen Salt Lake City Punk, the movie?
SLC Punk, I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
Especially like when I forgot the character's name, but when he's like ranting on who fucking cares where it comes from, and he's like, there's people in the United States like anarchy in the UK. This is fucking Salt Lake. Why the fuck are you saying that?
Yeah, that's an awesome movie. what, I forget the actor's name, but anyway, it's good.
I think his name's Jeremy something, right? He was in Scooby-Doo. He was in Scream.
Yeah, that guy's good. I'd have to look at the cast. But so then favorite punk bands, Earl.
Well, see, so I'm a pop punk guy, so I love like MXPX, Blink-182. I love Banner Pilot, Rational Anthem.
I have to say, like, I definitely like Blink-182 and all these other bands, but there's something about
Especially
like the super like thrash.
Oh, you like the harder stuff, right?
I don't know. I just feel like it's a crazy scene when you go to the show and you're like getting thrown around in there. You know, like it didn't even matter like who the band is or what they're doing. If you're just like thrashing hard, it's so much fun.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of an event than a show. Cause like you said, you don't give a fuck who's playing. I just want to.
Yeah, like all the songs are pretty close to sounding the same. It's just like the speed and the loudness, and then who knows what's going to happen.
Just want to destroy shit. That's how I felt. Like I wasn't obviously I was born in '86. So I wasn't really obviously I wasn't in the '80s punk scene. But I feel like a lot of those punks were just like, let's just destroy shit sometimes. Like hardcore people.
Yeah. The Minor Threat's a favorite, mainly because of footage I've seen of their concerts.
I'm sorry, 70s. That's what 70s punks were.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, they kind of got smart and realized, okay, this is stupid. And then, punk kind of moved. Now punks are like more cautious and more safe. They're not all stupid, you know.
And were we talking about G.G. Allen?
We brought him up a few times. Like he was wild, man.
He was wild. All I know is G.G. Allen. I think it's CBGB's, but at some point there's like footage of a concert, and you can see everybody's like thrashing pretty hard, but then their faces change. They're like, wait a second.
He was known for shitting and pissing on stage.
Yeah, and you can see him like backing away from the stage, and then they show him, and he's taking a dump.
Yeah.
On the stage, and people are like, I better not be front row anymore. And then they start backing up, and he starts wiping it on his face, and they just start clearing out the back, clearing out the exit, and the next thing you know, there's just like police coming.
Plus, this dude was hyped up on drugs all the time too.
Yeah. Oh, G.G. Allen. Yeah. I'm only aware of G.G. Allen because my buddy in the Marine Corps loved G.G. Allen, who was an American, and he believed he was actually a British guy, and they would like make ridiculous videos of themselves being G.G. Allen when they were like in middle school. I thought that was hilarious.
Of his music as a person, he was just crazy. You know,
I like the idea of him being that insane and the fact that he existed.
I can't get behind that, man. Like it's too much. Like I get why you're doing it. It's different, and but I don't know. To me, shitting and pissing on stages is a little too much.
No, I mean. Let's see. Self-mutilation, defecating on stage. I'm not going to go see a G.G. Allen show, but just that level of insanity, something that it had to have happened.
Yeah, when he died of a heroin overdose, I think it was.
Probably.
Yeah. I've heard, I don't know because I didn't know the guy obviously, but I've seen like people talk about him like, yeah, he was actually outside of music. He was a great guy. He was way different. It's like, what in the fuck got in his head to do that? I think too that I'm pretty sure, I'm not like certain on this, but I'm pretty sure this guy was known too for like just beating off on stage. Like I wouldn't put it past me if he did.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So
I don't know. The crazier, I don't know, something about punk calls to me. I'm not sure what it is, but it could be crazy.
It's to me, punk culture is great because like nobody gives a shit about like what their music is portrayed, you know?
Yeah, because you're never going to really go mainstream. I don't know if, some of those dudes maybe made some money, but
not so much anymore. I know like in the 90s when pop punk came out, like Green Day got famous, Blink-182, a lot of those punk bands, but not so much anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, and if you're like thrash hardcore punk, that's like from the band's perspective, it's like they're doing it because it's fun and they like it.
Yeah.
But you're never going to make any money doing that.
Because now, because every era has their music, you know, and now it's like what, SoundCloud, like emo rap and stuff that's like popular, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm a hip hop guy, but I like the older stuff.
Like every era has something that's popular, and then when that goes away, if you try to start that same band again, it's just not gonna happen. Like if a grunge band came out right now, like no one's gonna care.
Yeah, right.
Like if someone tried to make grunge come back, I don't know how that would work.
That's excuse me. That's probably right. There's
You got
probably like
choked up thinking about
awesome grunge music right now. We just don't know about it because they're not playing.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, so
Because sometimes people at work piss me off because they don't know punk. They say oh yeah, that screaming stuff. I'm like, no. There is some punk that screams, but no, that's not what I listen to. I never heard of Blink-182 screaming in my life.
But if we made a band, we'd have to scream though, right?
We just yell.
Because I can't sing.
I can't sing either, but I'll fucking sing. I'll scream. We'll sing about baseball too. Like we'll do a hardcore.
Yeah,
cover.
we did like the isotopes. You got to talk about the isotopes. I'm gonna check the clock and see how much time we got.
Oh, you're good, man.
We've been like doing 50 minutes of the test. This will be
like,
crazy to
this
listen to.
This is like once we see how this sounds and how it's portrayed, you know, out of this place, then we'll record a legit first one. But this is just introducing ourselves and our sound and to other people and ourselves.
It does, and I think it maybe for you, like it helps me with the banter, like how we're gonna the kind of shit that's gonna come out of my
you're
mouth.
Gonna flow.
Yeah, I got no flow.
Because like also these are just, like we have topics, but this is kind of just like bullshitting and stuff.
This is bullshitting.
But it's it's good though because now people can get a sense of who we are, what we like, punk and baseball.
And baseball.
Because for
Northwest Vista College.
Yeah. They had a baseball team?
No, but that'd be sweet.
That'd be awesome.
I think I don't have any eligibility left, but I don't know what Texas Community College baseball. They got some pretty good community college baseball in Texas.
I don't think our school has any teams, right?
Somebody said they had basketball. Maybe it's like if you go to any of the Alamo colleges, you all like come together at one of the campuses for hoops or something like that.
Because whenever I see a school, we have a mascot, so I immediately thought sports.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So another thing I think we need to talk about, like maybe when we do our our first podcast, we need to talk about expanding a team here or moving a team here because it pisses me off so much that they care so much about the Spurs that they won't allow any other sport team to come here.
Yeah, my thoughts on expansion to San Antonio are it will probably never happen in our lifetime because with 30 Major League Baseball teams right now, like I say this knowing full well I couldn't hit any Major League pitcher. Like these dudes are awesome, but the Max Scherzers and of the world, that kind of ace. There's only a handful of these guys that are good for so many years, and then you start coming and you need a second starter, third starter, fourth starter, fifth starter. Major League Baseball at 30 franchises is pretty watered down. So like if you can't get this awesome pitching staff and these big bats, it's once you start going more expansion, the game gets a little bit more watered down and less perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like the talent level just kind of
because there's so many bad teams.
Just because there's so many guys and like there's like you know what I'm saying? Like if in the old days, you could have just had like 8 teams, like that would have to be. That small number of people would have to be just Hall of Famers. They're so much better than everybody else.
So what you're saying basically is like if there's too many teams, and that means everybody has a spot, so you don't really have to work as hard.
Yeah, like AAA dudes are now major leaguers, and so the product on the field isn't going to be as amazing the more and more teams you make. So that's like one thing kind of working against, and there probably will be 2 more expansion teams. Like 32 sounds like a nice round number. Like I can see that happening.
I know for sure they're going to expand. I just don't know when and where.
Yeah.
I know, in my opinion, at some point, Las Vegas will get a team, like a baseball team.
Yeah.
Because, the Raiders moved there. It's the gambling capital of the United States, so, of course, they're going to have sports teams there.
And I feel like for market, San Antonio's not, like, the best, for...
Well, that, too. There's not a lot of baseball fans, like, overall here. Because the people I've talked to, that I know, they're like, oh, that's okay.
So that though, and the other, so they do whatever have like in the Alamo Dome, they have like a couple spring training games every year, which are fun to go to. Yeah, and then
they had the Rangers, I think, one year too.
It would be cool if they did like they did in El Paso, where they redo the downtown and build a kick-ass new stadium and put a AAA team in. I'd be like, that would be awesome.
I mean, we had the missions.
So missions are great.
I like going to their games.
Yeah, the Wolf Stadium's a little dated, but it's still cool. It's still nice.
I like the old feel of it. Just a classic, basic stadium. I
mean, for guys like us, it's awesome to go to the game there. I'm not complaining, but I think Buffalo did it too. Like when you put these cool stadiums downtown, they just draw better, like attendance, and they make more money.
If it was
so
like a modern stadium, with a lot of things in it, like restaurants and stuff, of course it would. But I think at that point, when people would just start going there to eat and stuff, not really pay attention to the game.
yeah. I hope that happens to San Antonio. It's a matter of finding like the real estate downtown and getting the developers to do it. The other dream I have, which is a pipe dream, but it's still a dream of mine, Earl, that because the Mexican leagues have awesome baseball, it's essentially AAA equivalent, and you have the Los Dos Laredos, the Tecolotes, down, and they play. I don't know how long that season is. I think it's like an 82-game season, so like 41 games will be at home, and they split their home games between Laredo, Texas, where there's a stadium, and then like another like 18 games in Nuevo Laredo in Mexico, and then there's another I saw Mexican City, I think it's Reynosa. They play like 6 games down there. So they're like the Toronto Blue Jays of the Mexican League because they're playing games in the States. I was like, wouldn't that be sweet if they expanded and we got a Mexican League baseball team in San Antonio?
I feel like that would be really popular here, especially with the Hispanic culture here. Like that would work.
Yeah, they'd crush it. They would be the Yankees because they would probably get the best television deal, and it would be so much fun to go to a game. Be great baseball.
I never thought about that till now. I was like, you know what? This would be a great market for an Hispanic.
Yeah, like because it's like the same thing as the Toronto Blue Jays. You just like put an expansion team from the Mexican League in San Antonio, everybody wins. Baseball fans, Mexican League, it would be awesome.
I would definitely go to those games.
Yeah. So that's my pipe dream, but I don't know if we ever get an expansion team. I mean, you got 2 teams in Texas. I don't know how they quantify like market share or whatever, but it doesn't seem like I don't know.
You have a dream? I also have a dream. My dream also is moving a team here, but it's my favorite team in the world, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Tampa Bay Rays.
They should move here. Well, okay, that's...
Have you ever been to the stadium, the Trop?
No, I've been to Tampa, but I've never went to the stadium.
Okay.
But I feel like, I mean, obviously would never move here because there's not a market for MLB baseball. But no one goes to the games down there, even when they're winning. So, like, they came here, I'm like, I'll go to every game, man.
I know. Yeah, it's so much fun to go to the ballpark.
Because they were talking about moving some of their games to Montreal. And they were like, in Montreal, they were like, no, we don't want your team here.
Was it during COVID, though? Because Canada had all those weird rules.
No,
like the Blue Jays were playing in Buffalo or Florida. No, they were playing in Florida. They were playing at the spring training facility, their home games.
This was recently. I think it was like last year.
Yeah.
Before or after the season, this season, they were talking about it because they're trying to get more people to go to their games. Because no one's really going to Tampa. So, like, well, maybe we'll go to Montreal and more people will come there and watch. They were like, no.
Yeah, it's interesting. I bet if you put a team back in Montreal, they would draw really good.
Yeah, because I'm sure people in Montreal miss the Expos.
It's like if you're trading stocks, they sold the bottom. Like when they moved the team, they didn't have a new stadium, but if they put a new stadium in there, they draw well. Montreal's a nice town.
Make an Expos team there again.
Yep.
And put Pedro Martinez in that system as a coach or manager or something.
Pedro.
That would.
They had such a good farm system. I'd love to know what that scouting crew was. They like Randy Johnson came from the Expos, Vladimir Guerrero. Like they had some of the best player development, like scouting. They got so many great dudes came out of there. I want to say Mark Langston came out of the Expos too for the Mariners. Like they just had some nasty pitching.
They moved to Washington, right? They moved to Washington.
Yeah.
Became the Nationals.
Yeah, that was the original Expos became the Washington Nationals, but yeah,
they would definitely draw. They move back.
Yeah, and apparel alone, they'd probably lead the major leagues in like all swag sold.
Oh, dude, as a hat head as myself.
Yeah, like jerseys, hats.
Can you imagine like having like 5 or 6 different colorways of Expos hats? I'd have to get them all.
It would be so sweet. They would kill it, but. Good stuff.
Yeah, that'd be a nice addition. Is bringing Larry Walker played for the Expos too.
Yeah, Larry Walker.
That dude, he eventually went to the Rockies, right?
Yeah, he went to the Rockies, went crazy there. But yeah,
there's a lot of good players. Gary Carter, but yeah, dude, Expos have had some studs, man. I forgot why they moved. I don't remember why they moved.
I think it was just the new stadium problems.
Oh, that'll kill a team for
sure.
sure.
Like if you don't build them a new stadium. I mean, the Mariners were on the verge of moving.
The Athletics too.
Because the Kingdome, and then there was like a proposal for the new stadium. If I'm remembering this right, there's a proposal for the new stadium, which taxpayers have to pay, right? So we're all going to pay more to build the new stadium, and everybody like voted it down. And that was the year they went on the run in like the playoff game with the Yankees and like played into the playoffs and then like won the series. And the city went nuts. So they did like a special vote or whatever, said let's vote on the stadium one more time. And then everybody voted in and said no, keep the Mariners. So if they wouldn't have gone to the playoffs, like if they wouldn't,
they probably would have been gone.
Yeah, like if they didn't go crazy that postseason, they wouldn't have won that, and they wouldn't have built a new stadium. And Major League Baseball was like, can't stay in the Kingdome, and they might have moved them out of Seattle. And being from that area, it's like a big. It's actually like it's all rainy and stuff, but I thought youth baseball was crazy up there. People
is there
really
a
love
baseball
baseball
culture up there?
I think so. Like the Lincecums of the world, it's interesting. I'm trying to think of like I want to say Ron Santo for the Cubs, like he was a Cub legend. He was from Seattle. Of course, Lincecum. I'm trying to think. Guy went to my high school, Todd Hollinsworth, was like National League Rookie of the Year with the Dodgers. He was like a 3rd-round draft pick or something.
So are we talking about like players from Seattle or just Washington State?
Just like Seattle, Washington State area. But the Northwest has some pretty good players. I'm trying to think who else came out of there. And then we'll wrap it and see what our thing looks like.
I pulled up a list of players from Seattle, but I don't think it's accurate. Maybe. It shows Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, what's his name? Ichiro?
Yeah, John Olerud.
Randy Johnson, Felix Hernandez. But I think there's just
those
players.
Are just.
Oh, you know what? The list says it's misleading. So the title of it says MLB players from Seattle, but then underneath it says top 40 greatest players in Seattle's Mariners history. Yeah. So I was like, Felix Hernandez is not from Seattle. But those are the players. Yeah, dude. The Mariners have always had great players, though. And I felt bad for Felix Hernandez. His career was wasted because they had no offense.
Yeah. It's trying to see who some of these dudes are. I don't know. Ron Say, he was a major leaguer. Jeff Conine, I didn't know that. He's from Tacoma. See if I recognize any of these other names in here.
But these are just players from... See, I'm going to pull an article on that. See, it's weird because... Okay, here we go. MLB players born in Washington.
Lincecum, of course. I'm trying to see if I don't recognize any of these dudes. John Olerud, I knew. He hit this legendary... There's this high school called Interlake High School. And I don't know if he went there to like a private school, but there's like this legend where he's either playing there or taking batting practice there. And they go, and this is so there's like the baseball field, and then there's like a huge like parking lot or just paved area beyond center field, and then there's like the school, and then like drilled into the wall of the school was like a basketball hoop. It must have been like 450, 500 feet away, and they're like, John Olerud hit a home run off that basketball hoop when he was in high school. I was like, dude, that's like 2 baseball fields away. At least that's the legend that I heard in here. Like, I don't know. Just trying to see who else. But Olerud had a sweet swing, man. They got a sweet swing. I played with this guy, Sean Spencer. Is this really who I think he is? This guy.
There was a guy from Willie Bloomquist. He was from Seattle or from Washington.
Yeah, Willie Bloomquist.
He was from Washington State or somewhere.
Yeah.
Seattle, I don't know where.
I think there was like Bloomquist brothers. They played football too. The Stottlemeyers, Mel Stottlemeyer, Todd Stottlemeyer.
Do I dare pull up MLB players from Texas?
Oh, that would go forever.
Yeah, because
not a whole lot.
Kershaw, he's from Texas. He's a beast.
Yeah.
Can't
I guess it's
Dodgers,
Ron Say. I'm trying to think where Ron Say was from. I thought it was Santo though. I thought it was, but I guess it was Ron Say. Yeah, Ron Santo too. So two Cubs. Ron Santo Say. I think one of them played for the Dodgers as well. Grady Sizemore. I did not know that.
Jeff Bailey.
Brady Sizemore. Blake Snell.
Hey, he was a race pitcher.
Blake Snell is from Seattle.
He plays. He plays for the Padres now, I think.
Yeah. Dude, I gotta figure out that dude's bio. I'm a Blake Snell fan. I didn't know that. Yep.
What website are you using?
I guess this is Baseball Almanac.
Because like when I go to players from Washington, it doesn't even show Blake Snell.
Shorewood High School. So he was like a first-round draft pick out of Shorewood Shoreline. That's so crazy.
I swear to God, I thought Blake Snell was from Oklahoma. No, I'm being dead serious.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Blake Snell.
Because I remember being at this like baseball museum.
Yeah.
And in Oklahoma, and they had him in there. So I don't know if he played baseball, like at somewhere in there or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shows that he's from Washington. So I don't know what that was
Brady
about.
Sizemore. That's so crazy. Where these guys? I don't know where he went to. Cascade. He's from Everett.
I pulled a when I was doing my baseball cards tonight. I actually pulled a Blake Snell card when he was with the Rays.
Doug Sisk.
So.
Santo. Reen Sandberg. Spokane.
Yeah.
I played with Jared Sandberg, like youth ball.
So
that was his like nephew or something. He was
So
apparently like a good David Risky. I hit a home run off of him. Did he make it to the show? That was junior college home run. I don't know if that matters. I guess he did.
He goes, I don't know if that matters. So Washington has some studs.
Lindbergh. Risky. Yeah, Risky threw hard. It's not like I was a good hitter. I was just like guessing fastball, and I actually hit one of his fastballs. Oh, my. Mike Redmond. Drew Rasmussen. I don't know. Lyle Overbay. Did he play for the Rays?
Not that I recall.
If it wasn't for a rehab assignment, John Olerud would have never played in the minors. He was insane at Washington State.
Oh, he got hurt. That kind of.
Yeah, he like went straight from being drafted to the Blue Jays.
Hey, the Spencer brothers, Sean and Stan.
Interesting. Steve Gajkowski, knew him. Adam Eaton. This is so crazy. All these names. All right. Well, Earl, I thank you, my fellow.
I agree.
This was a good trial run for us.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I need to.
I feel like we gel well together. I feel like there wasn't a lot of there was like really no dead air.
There probably was no dead air. We're good bullshitters, probably.
Yeah, I can bullshit all day. I can make up stories. I can tell actual stories. But
yeah,
whatever you need me to talk about, I will.
All right. Well, let's wrap it and hit the stop button and see if any of this shit recorded. We just like wasted an hour and a half of our time.